Yeah, it's supposed to be a Jeffrey Winehouse guy. You familiar with that guy, that name?
Oh, no. They're messing with him again?
Yeah, maybe he learned his lesson this time. I don't know.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, that's Franklin County.
And then who else wants to say a few words?
You're supposed to.
I could speak for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Sure, you can speak for longer than 5 minutes.
I'll give it 7.
I don't know. I saw you in South Dakota. Yeah, I think you can speak longer. I watched.
I'll probably speak for just a couple minutes.
That sounds good.
And maybe even Evil, you want to speak?
Evil.
No, because she'll get zapped.
Oh, she'll be zapped.
Depends on if she's recovered yet from being zapped.
Well, I'll film hold on, let me start my film here.
Sorry, it isn't any louder, but Gene, you're in charge of the sound system next time.
Okay, we're rolling.
All right.
All right. Hi, my name is Matt Thompson, and we're here in the bitter cold in Jefferson City, Missouri, on the grounds of the Capitol today to highlight the case of Jeff Winehouse. I'm a citizen and resident of the state of Missouri, and I had never heard of Jeff Winehouse until a filmmaker named Gavin Syme put it up on the internet, and I got to investigate what went on with Jeff Winehouse. Since then, I visited Jeff in prison many, many times and become great friends with Jeff. He's the greatest, most God-fearing person I know, tremendously upbeat still after what's happened to him. And I think it's important for the public, for the governor, and everyone to know what happened to Jeff Winehouse, because this is a manifest injustice. And this cannot be. If it can happen to him, it can happen to us. We are all Jeff Winehouse.
Yes, we are.
Because we all have a God-given right to criticize our government, to stand up and air our grievances without fear of being shot and incarcerated for 30 years. Are they going to shoot all of us? For those of you that don't know, Jeff Winehouse was the bulletin man. For 16 years, he'd been printing bulletins in Franklin County, Missouri, and Crawford County and other places surrounding there about what was going on in the community. People knew and trusted Jeff to tell them the truth. Jeff began investigating what he considered was possible criminal activity on behalf of the authorities. He was investigating the suspicious death of a person named Kelly Brandt and others, and he thought perhaps some of the local officials might have been involved. These same officials then began to harass Jeff. They called on his house. Agents of the Missouri Highway Patrol, acting outside their jurisdiction, showed up at Jeff's house. They said they were there to investigate marijuana, but they stole Jeff's computers with all of his bulletins so that he could no longer publish his bulletins. Then they set up an ambush. They told Jeff that he could get his computers back. Later testimony revealed they had no intention of ever giving Jeff his computers back, but they called him to this ambush. And Jeff showed up at the ambush. Later testimony, the officer that shot Jeff said he thought Jeff was talking on the phone to get a big force to come and fight them. Jeff did talk on the phone with his wife Valerie, and he began to pray. He got a force bigger than that state highway patrol officer had ever seen before on his side, because he prayed to God and he said, God, whatever they're going to try to do to me, strike it down. Jeff was shot twice in the head, twice in the chest, and miraculously survived. He went to hospital. He was in the hospital for about a month, incurred bills of well over $500,000, was never arrested until the day he went out, or 2 weeks after he got out of the hospital, because the authorities didn't want to pay the hospital bill after they had attempted to murder Jeff. Yes, I'm saying right here today, Missouri State Highway Patrolman attempted to murder Jeff Winehouse.
Sergeant Henry Folsom.
Sergeant Henry Folsom. There's no doubt about it.
Should not have any rights.
Because Jeff had a spy watch. He had a Google watch on his left hand that recorded the whole incident. Sergeant Folsom later testified that the whole incident took about 10-15 minutes, that he asked Jeff to sign these papers, and that Jeff moved this way and he went that way, and then he asked his partner to go back in the trunk and describe the process that took about 15 minutes. We know now from watching the Spy Watch video that the whole process took about 11 seconds. He said, "Jeff, why are you carrying a gun?" Jeff said, "I don't know, why are you carrying a gun?" He said, I'm authorized to carry a gun." Well, I have news for Mr. Folsom. We're all authorized to carry a gun.
That's right. Hear, hear. Hear, hear.
And then Sergeant Folsom shot Jeff 4 times. Later, about 10 minutes later, if you watch this Spy Watch camera, Jeff had a parachute holster. He did have a gun, and Jeff told me, and the evidence has proved this to be the case, the gun was holstered on his left hip, and it was cross-holstered. In other words, it was set in a position to draw from the right side. But the gun was in a parachute holster. This is a military-style holster designed for paratroopers. It's very difficult for the gun to come out of there. It takes 2 hands to get the gun out of there. FBI agents that witnessed this testify they saw Jeff's right hand. He never went for any gun. He never moved his right hand. They saw it. It's been proven. If you watch Jeff's Spy Watch camera video, about 10 minutes in, other officers are showing up at the scene. One of them looks down on the ground and he sees this holster, and he's looking at this holster on the ground, and he says, "Is that a gun in there? Is that a gun in there?" Whereas Sergeant Folsom testified that the gun was drawn. It wasn't. This is perjury. I'd say, Governor, it looks like attempted murder. I think this man should be arrested. And this is a situation that must be remedied because it affects all of us. We must have the right to criticize our government, or our entire system will fall down.
Amen.
And this situation must be remedied. Jeff Winehouse must be released from jail and compensated for damages.
It needed to be done yesterday.
Yeah. Hear, hear.
Yes. No more. Not one more day.
Not one more day.
Not one
You're
more
wrong
day.
to not have
So,
any rights.
Jeff has filed, since the new Governor Parson has been in office, Jeff has filed an official pardon application
Free Jeff Winehouse.
under the cause manifest injustice. This should be working its way to your desk, Governor. As far as I know, the new Attorney General, Eric Schmidt, can stop this right now, because there is a petition for habeas corpus in the federal court in St. Louis. All the Attorney General would have to do, I'm not a lawyer, but I believe all the Attorney General would have to do would be to file an amended brief supporting Jeff Winehouse's petition for habeas corpus. Get this good man out of jail and do it now.
Get this good man out of jail and put those that belong behind
One
bars
thing,
behind bars.
we have Evil Love here representing Jeff Winehouse in jail. And to fully understand how this occurred with Jeff Winehouse being convicted of a crime which did not exist, because he is convicted of shooting the officers with a firearm, and no one shot the officers that day. They're perfectly healthy. No firearm was discharged. It stayed in the holster. And at the trial, Jeff Winehouse was told he had the right to defend himself, but he was fitted with shot cuffs. I'm not kidding you. Shot cuffs, 80,000 bolts.
Battery down there,
Mr. Winehouse, you have the right to defend yourself, but if you do so, we're going to hit you with 80,000 bolts.
I never pull.
You get the idea. This happened in the state of Missouri, people. We're always told in the news about all these injustices happening in Saudi Arabia or that. This happened. We have political prisoners right here in the state of Missouri.
This is the show me state. And this is what we call justice.
And we can thank former prosecuting attorney Robert Parks.
Hey,
He
Parks.
was in office way too long. He needs to be held accountable for all of this.
Hey.
Robert Parks is the prosecuting attorney for Franklin County, Missouri, who prosecuted Jeff. And Robert Parks was in on this from the get-go. He was communicating with these state officers who were acting outside of their jurisdiction, and he signed a search warrant. The search warrant would have required the local sheriff to be involved, which he wasn't. So I believe it was an illegal search warrant. But he was in on this from the beginning. And the jury didn't see all the evidence, but Mr. Parks saw all the evidence. He knows that Jeff was innocent. and yet he convicted him anyway. And they wanted to get rid of Jeff because they said Jeff was a troublemaker. But getting rid of Jeff didn't stop the trouble. The trouble in Franklin County continued because Jeff was only reporting on it. And Robert Parks and a small cabal of people operating an informant program, the informant program dealing drugs themselves, is still active in Franklin County.
Yes, it is.
We've seen in Columbia, Missouri, the same thing with the police department operated for over 20 years with a brothel and drug dispensary that they knew was operating and worked along with it for over 20 years under the guise of an informant program. Governor Parsons, stop these informant programs and do it now. I want to pass the mic around and hear what anyone else has to say. First of all, I'd like to introduce the famous world traveler, Roger Roos.
Let's get someone else to film my little.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Let me just basically hit the red, and when you see the red, it's filming. I see everybody's changing it to some color.
I'm being good. I'm being fast.
Are you sure you're going with jacket?
I say when.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. That was great. Matt, I think, summarized the Jeff Winehouse case very well. Jeff was denied almost every right that any of us have to defend ourselves if we're ever facing a serious criminal prosecution. You know, a lot of people are like me. We grow up and we're taught that you know, the American Constitution and American laws are there to protect us, and that if we're ever charged with a crime we didn't commit, all we have to do is come forward and show our evidence and show that we're innocent, and that the rules of evidence and the laws will allow us to do so. In fact, I can tell you, having been a lawyer and having witnessed many big cases, high-profile cases over the years, that's not really the way it works most of the time. In fact, I can just tell you that in all the big cases that I'm familiar with, starting way back even in the Waco prosecutions, the Timothy McVeigh case, the Randy Weaver case, all these big cases, the biggest profile cases in American history, really the Bundy cases in Oregon and Nevada. There were 5 trials, and I can tell you I watched those.
Yeah.
One of the reasons for the permit is so we don't have opposite groups on a subject arriving at the same time.
So they feel like they're being taken over.
I can appreciate you guys keeping the peace.
We don't stop anybody from getting a permit. Like you said, as long as you don't conflict.
I'm sure it costs money too, huh?
You guys could have gotten a permit.
It doesn't?
You're
Wow.
all wrong. It doesn't matter.
You don't stay in Missouri, giving us something free.
We have anything for everybody.
You don't have to fill out the paperwork. They issue you a permit.
Are they open right now?
You wouldn't have to be here if
Go get one.
I was in court just a few days ago in Northwest Vegas, Nevada, and they were trying to deprivate my rights. They dropped all charges, and they were afraid, the judge was actually afraid of being put in prison for the capital felony violation of which I am speaking.
Well, what I'm saying is there's an easy route to do this. You go get the permit, you can be here all day. And
No, that's not an easier route.
Yeah.
The easy route is to come on state property that we own and here on
Yeah,
state.
we pay taxes for the state capital, don't we?
2 months in ahead, not knowing the weather. This is not trespassing. No.
And if we were
That's
being
not
scare
violent in
tactic.
any way or
It's a scare
causing
tactic.
trouble or arguing with other people and us getting
No, it's
violent,
free. It's
that
free.
don't
Imagine
never
that.
matter, but we're not.
rules on that, and what I'm trying to explain to you is the rules on that. And the reason we do those rules is so that we can keep everybody safe.
Yeah, but I'm trying to explain to you Title 18, U.S. Code 241 and 242, deprivation of rights under
Are you
Colorado.
familiar with it?
There's a very severe. I would recommend that you read that on your own when you get a moment.
You need to read our code of state regulations, which run
That's what I'm talking about. That is color of law. That's opposed to the Constitution. I'm talking about from the Supreme Court of the United States.
All you have to do is get a permit, and they'll give you one.
Why?
They don't stop anybody from speaking.
Because it's permit free.
Look at
Yes.
The
But it probably takes about 2 years to
that
get.
person right there.
Take you 2 years to get.
Your state trooper shot that guy. They deprived him of the right to live. Well, they tried to deprive him of the right. He survived.
Deprived him of the right to live. He's incarcerated for 30 years.
He's incarcerated for
I
30
can't argue that case. I wasn't there. I don't know.
Well, we're telling you about it now. You want to take a good look what they did to him?
That's fine.
2 shots in the head, 2 in the chest.
He survived, and then they put him in prison because they call him a troublemaker because he's exposing
Some bad guy
corruption.
shot my wife in the head and killed her, and I'm glad there are cops to get him off the road. I'm glad there are state troopers to arrest him. So we can argue this all day long.
Right.
Okay? That's what my wife looked like, over the hole in the back of her head. But it wasn't done by a cop, was it?
Well,
The cops are the ones that found the guy. He's in prison right now.
I wouldn't know, but that one was done by deprivating his rights. He was a blogger. He was a listen. He was a blogger. He was exposing corruption in all different levels of government. Okay. They broke into his house. They stole his computers. Then they said, "Well, bring back your computers," and then they shot him.
Or you're going to have to move on.
Pardon?
You're going to have to move on if you don't get a permit.
Okay, I just wanted to explain this to you, and also this is all being recorded. This is gonna go on YouTube. Okay, this is gonna be public across the nation.
That's the whole reason I told you my story.
Because
I understand.
only a part of the reason why we're here.
Especially if you know this person. If you don't know this person,
Well,
it
he's a
can't be
constitutional patriot. That's what I care about.
The whole
It'll
point
keep
is,
going on if we don't stand up for our rights.
I understand that you're upset. I get that. That's my point. But if you get the permit, then you can really get out here and tell everybody all day long, and nobody will stop.
The case law all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court
Right.
is very clear.
Right.
We have a right to protest. We have a right to
I get that.
demonstrate.
Say, officer,
Do you want to do that?
we don't
or-
want to
Okay,
cause any trouble,
okay,
and
so
we
I
hear what you're
understand.
saying.
Okay, so
but we should you guys should be working with us to restore the rule of law. You
I don't
understand
want
what
to
I'm
work with
saying?
you. That's
The
why I told you
Constitution?
how to get a permit
Sure.
and do it.
Right.
Okay? Here's the problem. You guys want to tell his story and get him not to be.
To get out of prison.
Yes, I understand that.
What
I
time's
want
the
you
news
to be able
station
to
gonna
do
be
that
here?
safely and on our ground.
Will they be
And
arrested
that's
too if
what
they
I
come
said.
here to
If
do
you
news?
get a permit, then you can do that. And so you
Huh?
can either
No.
argue
Will the news station be arrested too if they
about
come here to do news?
protesting, or you can get his message out. That's what I want. So if you
You're
wanna
avoiding
get
my
his
question,
message
though.
out, there is
You're
an
avoiding
easy
my
way to do
question,
that.
though.
Just get what the state requires.
Will the news
and
will the news
you
people
do
be
it.
arrested too?
But what about what the Constitution requires?
Yeah.
The easiest way
We're
What is it,
actually
bro?
here primarily for the Constitution, and because he's a fellow supporter of the Constitution. He's a constitutionalist. He's all over the nation on YouTube and that kind of thing. Okay, alternate news media, you might say. And the cop shot him because he's exposing corruption in the government. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. To me, it seems like a very small thing to ask that you just go get the permit and come back.
It's a very small thing
We
to
haven't
not
intended
being
to
able
be
to
here
walk
that
where
long.
we
Not
pay
gonna be here much
taxes.
longer. But the point is, the First
think.
Amendment is our permit, and the case law is overwhelming. If you were to arrest us for trespassing, you could be sued right now.
Well, then you
Oh
see.
yeah, absolutely.
That's
I've
just
been
it.
threatened by every guy I've arrested almost all the time, all my different jobs at different police departments about how they were going to sue me.
We are not
And, you know,
trespassing.
I know what the rules are and the laws are. I know that.
It
I
sounds like
understand
you're
Roger
not,
was
you're
a
not as clear.
Sorry, he's
It sounds
upset.
like you're not as clear on the law as I
Right.
think.
that. I
as
don't
think
have
you
to
should
be. All I have to know what the rules are. The rules are state you got to have a permit.
But the
If you
rules are
do not follow
colorful.
that,
That's a
and we ask
capital
you to
felony.
leave, then you're trespassing.
We aren't even intending to be here. We
What
had
you're
only
talking
intended
about
to
is a
take
capital
See what it takes to get a
You
permit.
can't be here right
Yeah.
now. You
Go
need to
check it
go.
out. Anyway.
Let me
A
walk
few of
with
us are
you.
going to go
Oh,
inside.
it's fine. No, she told me where to go.
Well,
I mean,
Cool beans.
okay. Well, we've got a right to be here
I'll
without
stay here if
a
you got a
government permit. Our permit is the First Amendment. We're going to go inside and march around and go inside.
Roger here was a supporting attorney on the Bundy Ranch trials, both at Portland, Oregon, and he was in Nevada as well. Of course,
Maybe come on inside.
and he was actually, we were all acquitted of all charges in those cases.
Nobody's going to stop you from coming inside. It's great.
Hi guys. Sorry, I got here late.
This is my lieutenant.
Okay. Here's the deal. Okay. The way I'll do it, the way I see it, you guys aren't hurting anything. The reason they asked that you had she's freezing. The reason they had the permit set up is because after many years of doing this, 20 plus for me, we have had, without permits, you'll have a group that will have, one that comes to mind very clearly and very vividly as pro-life, and you had pro-choice. They reserved, one of the groups, I don't remember which one, forgive me, reserved the front lawn. When we had the other group show up, of course, that's quite a passionate deal there. And so we had this clash. And now I've got to come back and figure out, okay, now, how do I separate this to make it fair for everybody? That's why they require the permits. That's why they say, we need you to have a permit in order to do this. It's to cut down on any kind of issues that would happen.
That's the reason for the permit. Clearly,
right.
You can see that's not occurring here. There's no opposing force. There's no.
But I can't remember that, and if I can't tell you that there's not going to be another car that comes around the corner that says, I don't even know what we're doing.
We don't want to get the permit because we don't think we should
permit
have to.
is required
because it'll come with conditions.
Traffic, putting up barriers, putting up a huge structure. We're not doing anything.
We're going by what the Office of Administration has as far as its permit requirements. I'm trying to deal with you guys if you let me finish out, because I'm not opposed to letting you guys stand here. I'm really not.
I don't see how you could be. If you're a law enforcement, you've got to allow the First Amendment right of demonstration and peaceful assembly.
I understand, sir. I'm being very respectful to you. I'm trying to explain to you, this is not our rule. This is the Office of Administration that is set forth from this building who has said this. All I'm telling you is...
I cannot believe that a group of 7 people, we got 3 cops coming, and there's, what, 8 people here, and we're having just a little peaceful little protest.
You're taking this personally. I am not. I really am not. I'm not even, I just said, it doesn't matter to me if you stay here. I'm just explaining why there was a conversation. I can tell you why. The officer showed up because she heard there was a protest out here. Well, of course we have to send somebody to check on it. This is the first supervisor.
I'm going to start writing up that piece of paper because I have a feeling we're going to be going into the car pretty soon. I need to write up that piece of paper.
We're not trying to say, hey, get off the lawn right now. I'm telling you, I don't care. I'm explaining to you the rules that we follow, which is that the Office of Administration, excuse me, requires for most of the time to have a permit. I can tell you this too. Most of the time, if you call over there and say, hey, we're at North Capitol and we're doing a small gathering for this, they would probably come over and give you a permit and call us. I'm not even going to worry about that. As a matter of fact, the gentleman that was with you guys, I believe he's with y'all.
Yeah.
Went up
this,
to the
this guy here?
went up to the governor's office.
Yeah.
What's his name? I'm sorry.
Oh, Art.
Art. Okay.
Yeah.
White jacket. Yeah. I just took him to the governor's office because when he got out of the elevator, he got confused where he was going. That's where I was headed to do my afternoon check-in. We're not the bad guys here. I'm just trying to explain to you, and not to take it personally. It's the way they've set it up to prevent flashing sides of things going. That's all I'm saying. But
I cannot believe that here in the United States of America, we have a First Amendment right to speech, of press, peaceful assembly, to petition government for redress of grievances. And here we are, a group of 7 people come out to complain against government, and we have 3 cops armed with weapons and body armor coming to harass us.
Okay, sir, I have not once have I harassed you. Not once have I been anything but respectful. Not anything once more than just explaining to you why. I always felt that was the best way to handle things, is to come over and just explain our situation, the situation we're in. I agree full well. Like I said, I've been doing this for numerous years. I have nothing but the full respect for anybody that wants to have any freedom of speech about anything, because I don't have a moment. I'm simply explaining to you, as a group, as a whole. I am not asking you to leave. I am explaining to you why my officer to say, hey, you know, OA is supposed to have, you're supposed to have a permit. I would have called OA myself and said, hey, can you come right one up? I'm not even going to do that. You know why? Because it's a Friday afternoon. That's why I'm explaining. That's all I'm trying to do.
Okay, I didn't understand that.
Yeah, no,
You
it's
first just said that you're going to let us stay here for the little bit, and that's great. And we're not even arguing with you about that. I think that Roger and I are both on the same page on this. We're just trying to explain to you what the law is. Just so you know, the Supreme Court ruled that statutes and codes by states are not law. Okay, according to the Supreme Court, unless they're in pursuance of the Constitution.
Right.
That includes the First Amendment. Okay. So what you're supporting here is color of law, and I understand that you get paid a paycheck. Your superiors tell you how things got to be, and they set down rules. Okay, and you're trying to enforce. You're trying to keep those rules going.
We do it too. It's kind of like the way we look at it. To be honest, this has been upheld. This rule has been upheld through
not by the Supreme Court,
through our courts here, because we've had the same. We've had that, and I said, our standing point is, we come over, we say, hey, you need to be issued a permit in order to do this, and if they don't, then the upper echelon says, okay, well, they either leave, they go to jail, whatever, and then we let the court sort it out. It's not mine to judge if it's, if that's.
We're all getting cold. We're about to take off.
Well, I appreciate it. Like I said, gentlemen, don't remove your gloves.
My only point is that you can watch that on your own time. You can look up Title 18, Section 241 and 242, just so you know what it says.
Oh,
so that you realize that state statutes and codes are not law unless they're quote-unquote in pursuance of the Constitution, okay? And you can look that up in the Constitution under the Supremacy Clause, Clause 2, Article 6 in the Constitution, okay? And any section of code that's not in compliance with the Constitution is not law. You can also look up Marbury v. Madison, 1803.
Right.
And that has been challenged 854 times in the federal and Supreme Court, and it's never failed ever.
Yeah, we've had several instances here that the courts have said, yes, that's fine. That's how the Office of Administration said. That's why they set up the permit.
Right.
Like I said, we've had over 300 people protesting over here on the other lawn.
Yeah.
And I walked over there and said, because you have the right. You're not obstructing anything. You're not bothering anybody that I know of. That's why I'm here. Yeah. So I want you guys to know that we're
cause any trouble.
And we're not here to be the overlords and the evildoers that law enforcement oftentimes gets. Like look.
Roger Roots, Matt, Penny.
I got my Justice for Ken.
Oh, you busted out the purple Pumas.
Mine, she gave me a pair too. Oh, she's got the purple Pumas on, huh? My son had a pair of red Pumas.
I'm going to speak on my behalf.
Okay. No, you're not. Shut it.
Yeah, sure. Look, I said, sure. Start getting close to you.
All that I had was, you're supposed to be trying to do anytime I try to speak. I did not do it.
This is about the only time that we can talk about. I know it. What is that?
All I said was...
Oh, yeah. I didn't hear it. Oh, I was wondering what that noise was.
There that they tried rushing off too, didn't they?
Yellow vests are up there.
All right, so I might, if somebody
Right.
He's got a live stream video. He's protesting. Can you live stream?